Hello, everyone. Today we have an amazing episode. I'm your host, Gary Vaughn, and this is Calvary Pursuit. Boy, we have an interesting conversation for you because it's one about Kidz Praiz. Yeah, you probably heard about Kidz Praiz before because we've had Sister Monica Whatley with us once before. Well, guess what? You get her again today. She is going to bless us with some of the most awesome things that have happened recently and also some things coming your way that you're not going to want to miss. We have an amazing Christmas program that she's going to tell you about and a lot more information about what the kiddos at Calvary do. And of course, some big things that you may have not heard about before. So a lot to get into. So without any delay, we're going to join me and Sister Monica Whatley right now. Hello, everyone. It's nice to see you, and I'm so glad to have Sister Monica Whatley with me today. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Brother Gary. I'm glad to be here.
I'm glad to have you. You know, you have been a part of the kids ministry team for many, many years, and then you took over as director from actually Honey, which we call Honey Sister Hudson, and you have done that. And then the last time we spoke, you've been on the podcast actually one other time.
I have.
You're one of the few that have been on, but now I think this is your second time, but one of the multi-time, you're one of the first. So that's, hey,
so glad
lucky
to be
you.
back.
Yeah, so glad to have you back. And so we had a lot of discussion then about your history. So we're not going to focus on history today. We're going to focus on some of the things going on now in Kidz Praiz.
Oh, and there's a lot.
Yeah, but not only that, some of the things you've done in the past, just this past summer. We're not going too far.
Yeah.
So I want to start with a few things. I want to start with the summer program that we had with the youngsters. We had some really cool things going on because we had all those kids in Kidz Praiz actually joining the entire staff here at Calvary. And that was a huge thing, very cool thing. I'd like for you to talk a little bit about that and how everything worked out.
Yeah. So past 2 years, we've actually done Calvary's Summer of Service, where we integrate all of our kiddos into different ministry segments. We have everything from hosting and opening doors for people with smiles and greeting them. And we have children that are helping with offering, with media and helping with getting the side projectors going, all the way down to kids that helped in baptistry, which was absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Very cool. I mean, I thought to myself, I said, wow, you're just seeing the new generation coming up and seeing all these kids, actually getting a chance to sing, seeing these young kids ushering, those little things like that, especially the greeting part. You mentioned that. That's a big deal because a lot of these kids, they're coming to church and sometimes I think they feel lost in the shuffle. I mean, they get to hang out with their friends. They get to do things like that. But I think they really don't know anything about serving, and we're teaching them to serve at an early age.
Yes.
How impactful do you think that is on their lives?
Oh, huge, huge. You know, we see all of our mentors ahead of us doing all of these super cool things in service and in church. You see the Sister Rachel's that's leading worship, or even all the way down to the baptistry team. And I think the coolest thing that has happened over this summer of service, we had several kids that were helping with baptistry team. And then within a week, they were telling their mom and dad, hey, I want to go get baptized. They got to be up there and experience just that magnitude in the baptistry area. And then immediately they made the decision, hey, this is important. It's not just a ritual, so to speak, but they felt it while they were up there, which was incredible. And even kids laying hands on people in the altar was just so powerful to watch all of our kids to step up and have that confidence in those ministries and in those avenues of ministry.
Most definitely.
So amazing.
Yeah, you're totally right on that. And to witness that is something very impactful for adults, I know, especially for us teachers, right?
Absolutely.
Because we invest time and work so hard to teach, the the plan of salvation, to teach
Right.
the stories in the Bible, things that just really the basics sometimes. But when you really try to pump up the volume and you get into some of the more in-depth things, sometimes your word is going to go over their head. But once they're actually involved and once they're actually
Right.
serving, I think that they actually learn those lessons easier because
Oh,
they
yeah.
already know, they already feel the
Yes.
Spirit of God
Well,
through what they're doing.
And they're almost embodying those spiritual heroes that they hear about. So they get to step into that role of, John the Baptist baptizing people. The kids get to step into that, which is, it takes on a whole new level of, I hate to say belief, but a whole new level of belief. It really solidifies those beliefs that they've been learning about in the classroom. So amazing.
You're right. You're totally right about that. And what's amazing too is the fact that as we've seen this take place and as they've done these different ministries, they've also showcased their own talents. And this year we had showcase, and Kidz Praiz
Yes.
always does things big. And Kidz Praiz Showcase is amazing every year. I got to say, personally, wonderful job this year. You did a great job of organizing. I mean, some of the things we saw this year,
Thank you.
they took my breath away because some of those kids getting up there, one of the
Yes.
ones I'm sorry, people, I'm going to mention names, a few, because of the impressions that they,
Yeah.
we had a young man named Roman. Oh my goodness.
Absolutely
Oh, that
amazing.
was an amazing, because, he
Yes.
has his own, on disabilities, like in past podcasts, I've spoken about my disability, talking about how God has helped me overcome. But sometimes our disabilities are our ability.
Absolutely.
Sometimes it becomes more of a strength
Yes.
than a disability, right? So I think God has
Yes.
given us abilities, and Roman was amazing.
Absolutely. The first time I saw him, we pulled the kids on a Wednesday night, just so that we could kind of preview what they were going to do on the platform. And he was showing me, I was absolutely amazed, mind blown completely. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
He was so cool.
It was, and for those who missed it, I apologize. I didn't lead up to that.
Oh.
But what it was he, in a matter of seconds, can locate any place in the city of Denton, and he does not live in
He
Denton.
doesn't even live in this state, Gary. Brother Gary, he lives up in Oklahoma, nowhere near here.
Yeah.
But he could pinpoint multiple different locations in Denton. His mom and dad said he goes one place, and then he can get on Google Maps or Google Earth, and he can navigate within a matter of 10 seconds to any place they list. It's amazing. I get lost stepping out my front door. It's terrible.
Yeah, it's true for me too. I'm not much of a navigator myself, but I mean, just to see that and to see some of the other young people get up there and basically speak from their heart. We saw
Yes.
some great singing. We actually got a chance to see, like my boys did, cooking pancakes that they like to cook.
Best pancakes I have ever had.
And we saw your son Colton do some amazing biking. He did a great job on his motorbike, and
He's a little daredevil.
he is. But I mean, he's got those skills. He's already showcasing them. So there's no telling as he grows what kind of guy he's going to be. He's going to be the next Daredevil for sure. But there's so many. I mean, I wish I could name everybody, but there are so many kids. And once again, if anybody out there wants to see Showcase, you can, because guess
Yes.
what? Calvary has a YouTube channel, just like our YouTube channel.
Go back and watch.
Check it out. I would list
Amazing.
every name if I could. I would
And
definitely do
I
it.
think the coolest thing about this year was it was all the kids. We didn't have even a grown-up emceeing any of it. The kids rocked it, and they did every aspect of that show.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing.
It was, and they showcased what God had given them, their talents,
Yes.
and that's so important. And I think that shows ownership for them, right? And that's such an
Yes.
important thing to learn, because I think as we as adults look at the things we do, sometimes we get lost in the weeds. I got to do this, I got to do that. Well, I got to
Right.
move this, I got to move that, I got to do, and we forget that, hey, everything we're doing is for the kingdom. Sometimes we get
Right.
lost on what's next and not live in that moment and understand the impact we're having.
Right.
Children, though, they sometimes do live in that moment. They're soaking it in as they go because it's all new.
Right.
And we've been here a few times around the sun. So we kind of have to relive it. But for them, it's the first time.
Right.
And I think it's a big deal. So I am so grateful for the fact that we have Showcase, the fact that our children are serving. But, our children are going through, some great experiences, but they're also learning in the classroom. And that's a very important thing. And today, I just want to touch on some of the, we've got some new curriculum. We're teaching many different things that are a little bit new. I just want you to kind of touch on some of the best parts of our curriculum, parts of the things that you like about how we're doing things in Kidz Praiz right now.
Yeah. So we, this semester, have really gone back to the basics, both on Sundays and on Wednesdays. Sundays, we're talking about the building blocks of faith. We're going through everything from really having faith and what that means. We are talking about the Bible and how we apply the Bible to our life. We are going to go all the way down through sin and even salvation, and how do we do that. Our next couple lessons are going to be over the salvation plan and getting baptized, repenting. What do those things mean? For kids, like you said, this is their first go around. So really their foundation on those spiritual doctrines and beliefs, they're learning for the first time. And so really building that strong foundation to build off and have a great relationship with God based off of those things. And then on Wednesdays, we're going back to the beginning, and we're talking about the creation and the fall of man and that redemption story, even on Wednesday nights too. So, and then we're also, making it available to everyone through our, I know you mentioned changes in the classroom. We're also making it available to all parents. We're going to send out a newsletter to all parents, which is great. As a parent myself, I know, it's so important to know what your kid is being taught, and making sure that not only that you know what they're being taught, but you can follow up. Because with a lot of kids, if they don't, repetition is the best form of learning. So if you don't repeat it, and if you don't go over that again, a lot of times they'll lose what they already learned. So that's been a great addition as well, being able to send that information out to parents so that they have that and they can kind of talk to their kiddos about it throughout the week. It's been great.
I love that. That's great. And, parents are always asking their kids, what did you learn in Sunday school?
Oh, about Jesus.
You might get lucky and hear about a whale.
Right.
I mean, come on. It's just because sometimes it's just hard for them to retain everything. But what I love about things like object lessons, I love that, because these object lessons take them out of sitting still and just listening. It's actually bringing them in and them seeing and learning through that.
And catching their attention. Poor brother Gary, he would never complain about anything that we forced him to do in the class, since he is one of our teachers. But this past lesson, unfortunately, we made him eat brownie mix with kitty litter. But it got those kids' attention real fast. They were so in tune and really grasping those lessons that you're teaching them, which was awesome. We've had, I'm trying to think of other object lessons that we've done. We've brought character work in as well. Sister Ashley, one of our fellow teachers, is a school teacher as well, and so she has access to all sorts of props and costumes, and so she brought a full royal line in a few weeks ago for I believe it was Josiah rebuilding the temple. I believe. Okay. I would have to look back at my lessons.
Yeah, there's a lot of lessons I know as a teacher. You get once again, you go ahead of the game, so you're not always in the moment. Sometimes you're ahead of the game, so I get that totally. But I mean, it's been a lot of fun. It brings a new aspect to these classes.
Yes.
So these students aren't stuck just sitting in one place. I mean, I'm not trying to date myself, but I do remember back in the old days when I was in Sunday school,
Yes.
you would sit there.
You sit down and be quiet.
Exactly. And you might get lucky and get to color for a few minutes. And then you might get lucky and get a snack, but a lot of it was listening. You might get a puppet show, but no, you know, so there was, and I love, no diss on any of my Sunday school teachers. I loved all my things. But I'm just saying, I think this brings a lot of new dynamics. And also the generation is now, everything's go, 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 go. Everything's in their face. They've got tablets. They've got TVs, they've got, you know, all their friends are doing about 6 different things at one time.
Yes.
So it's a lot. So
Colton will blow me away. He will be playing one of his games and he'll be talking to 10 different friends all at once while playing the game that he's playing. And it just blows me away how they can keep it all, you know, straight and know who they're talking to at what time. It blows me away. Yeah.
You're good luck on that, because I would be no. My daughter will leave the phone on and go do other things. I'm like, they're still on the phone.
They're still there.
Okay. No,
I love that. I love that. I will say, I'll put a plug in. I love the fact, I was actually just talking to a good friend that actually I met through your family, Brother Gary, Sister Kayla. And, you know, she and I were talking about the games and how they're a blessing and a curse a lot of the times, but they have connected. Church is different, you know, that y'all are from an hour away, and their boy Keegan is good friends with Colton now, and it's because they have created that relationship through playing that game, which is kind of cool. That's a relationship that wouldn't have been possible had it not been for y'all, and then for them being able to play that game and stuff.
Exactly.
So I will say I have enjoyed watching that. That has been fun.
I totally agree. You know, back in the day, back in the old ancient times, if you wanted to talk to your friend, you'd have a pickup phone and then maybe
on a cord.
On a cord, yeah. A rotary phone. But no joke. I mean, it would be one of those, you know, them at camp, and you talk for about 2 weeks and then you lose contact because there's just one way to contact them. Now, you're so lucky that you can FaceTime, you can do so. Those things are good for these kids, and there's a lot of negativity. We do talk a lot about negativity. So, and that's another great thing we do in Kidz Praiz is we talk about that quite a bit, about, you know, the dangers that they're facing, and I think that's such an important part of what we're doing is we're educating them good and bad things about things, because not everything is the devil. I mean, let's just be honest. There are things that are used for the negative, but there's a lot of positives in them too. So we have to learn balance, but we also have to learn, is this what God would want us to do? Is this how and we have to teach our kids that. It's so crazy to think that, but we do now. We have to actually say, how do you feel when you're doing this? Do you think that God would be happy about you doing that? And that's the way we have to kind of find our balance with these kids, because like I said, everything's at their fingertips.
Yes.
So it's wild.
Crazy.
You know, one of the cool things about Kidz Praiz is the fact that, you know, we have all this stuff going on and so many different things going. But I do have to ask the question, since you have been directing Kidz Praiz for this amount of time, what is the most rewarding thing that you've seen out of Kidz Praiz so far?
I think it probably goes back to almost the summer of service type stuff, watching those kids step into those avenues of ministry and growing in that. We have kids that'll go and even greet brand new guests, which is really a very hard thing to do. I mean, I know a lot of kids, they connect really easily, but we've got some pretty shy kids too that don't like to step out of that. But they have gotten to where they can do that, and they'll go. I mean, we have some kids that would never talk to you. Well, that wouldn't feel comfortable just going up and starting up a conversation. But they'll go on the altar and they'll be praying with you, and they'll pray with you for 30 minutes flat. And they'll be praying over you and really travailing for you. But they wouldn't feel comfortable just initiating a conversation, if that makes sense. But seeing them in that dynamic has been such a cool experience, watching them do that, and grow into that, you know, because that's a hard thing. Praying with someone is a whole whole nother ball game that some adults struggle with. A lot of adults struggle with, actually.
Yes.
It can be very intimidating, and them having that confidence to do that. And we're talking not kids praying with other kids. We're talking kids going and laying hands on, 40, 50-year-old adults, and really praying them through the Holy Ghost and praying healing down on them. Absolutely the coolest thing that I probably have seen since I've been in children's ministry.
That's awesome. And you're so right on that. And, we talk about some of these positives, and a lot of people have to start with, maybe the negative first, but this isn't really negative. I think what I'm going to ask you next is more of interesting question, because I think it's what has made us stronger, but that's the challenges. What challenges have you faced as being Kidz Praiz director, and what has helped you grow through those challenges?
I think, and it's really not a challenge, and it's definitely not a negative. Calvary is definitely at a place of growth, great, fast, rapid growth. And with any growth comes growing pains. And so just adjusting to the environments, we had to move our Wednesday night classrooms to a different area because our youth group in the area that they were in, they literally could not fit anymore. So our kids where we were meeting, we have actually moved to a different area in the building. And we've had to kind of arrange class times around that, but it's been a great transition at the same time because we've been, for one, we've been able to add in a couple extra teachers that maybe weren't having the opportunity to serve. And we've also had the opportunity to split the kids up a little bit better for their age, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Which helps us to teach them really on their level a little bit better. You think you wouldn't think that just a couple years would be a huge difference in teaching styles, but it really is. That's a big gap between even, I don't know, first grade up to third grade. Doesn't seem like that big of a gap, but that's a pretty good gap.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Yeah, I've
Sorry.
seen that. No, you're good. I think that it is a challenge. It definitely is one of those huge, things to kind of worry about when you're teaching and actually finding a way to teach these kids on different levels, because some can read and some can't. Well, how do you reach those kids when you got these worksheets and you're like, well, you can't read that. And then the other ones that can, and they're like, you guys are so boring because we can read this no problem. So you're right.
And they get frustrated.
Exactly. And then those kids feel left out.
Yeah.
So there's so many different things. So I understand there's so many different challenges, but I think God has really blessed us with the ability to really find teachers that can reach each level and do that, right?
Yes, and be able to adapt to whatever the circumstances that's going on, and be able to reach the kids really where they're at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree totally.
It's been amazing.
I think, as I've looked at my ministry and different things that I've done and worked and struggled and fought and do all those things you do, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes you kind of feel like, man, I'm doing the best I can. But then you turn around one day and you actually focus in on I've been blessed. God has actually done a lot for me, not just for my ministry, but God has done a lot for me. I would like to know from you, what has God blessed you with in your own personal life out of what you've done and all those hours spent working?
Oh, my Brother Gary, my immediate always, and I talked about this briefly on the last time I was on the podcast. It would have to be my son Colton. And actually, I talked with the kids briefly a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about. We were actually talking about waiting on the Lord and what that means, and one thing that we talked about was, we think wait as in time. We're just waiting. Mm-hmm. We're just waiting. I don't know that I believe that that's what we're supposed to do. That's not what that means. Waiting on the Lord is we do everything within our power to do what God has called us to do, whether that be feed the homeless or feed, our fellow believers, or whether, and we, Brother Michael, my husband, and I, we actually, before Colton, we had extra space in our house. And, you know, the story goes, essentially, we were told to go home and build our room. Gary, you know this story very well. We were told to go home and build our room, and God was going to fill the room. Well, as it normally goes, there was still a wait even after we built the room. And so at that point it was, well, we're waiting, God, we're waiting. And then we have several, you know, family friends that maybe their house was finishing being built and they needed somewhere to stay. So Brother Michael and I talked, and we were like, you know what? We have the space. Why not? So we served. That's what waiting on the Lord means. And through that, God did. He blessed us with a perfect little boy.
Yes.
He filled that room, and he's got two built-in best friends
Which
with
we
your
found out
boys.
pretty quickly after we found out about Colton. We found out that we were going to have not just one but two.
Yes.
So.
Well, and the funny thing is, you know, we waited for a little while, and unfortunately there's pain in the waiting sometimes. And I'll never forget whenever I went to tell Sister Amanda, your wife, about Colton, and I was like, hey, I'm going to need you to pray. And she pretty well just melted, and she said, I was trying to figure out how I was going to tell you that I was pregnant.
Yeah.
But it was a beautiful moment. I don't even know that she would remember that, but it was just a beautiful moment between friends, and just so thankful for that, and just that whole story. It's a blessing to even be able to recount any of that. That whole story, just amazing.
Yeah. It's its own podcast.
I know.
By itself. And one day, everyone, you've got the extremely abbreviated version of the story.
Yes.
This is a story. It's a miracle story. It's a story that needs to be told. We're going to tell it. We're going to have your husband, Michael, involved in that discussion. That'll be later down the road. But
be a lot of tears.
So that's where we're going to put that one through. But yeah, so, as we wrap up here, and I know my producer, Grace, is going to be like, hurry up, guys, because we're probably going over time. But we've got to mention one of the most important things right now. That is, we've got an amazing Christmas program coming for everyone this December. I cannot wait. I'm lucky enough to be a part of it. But great, Scott, what's it going to be? Tell us the name, kind of abbreviated version of what it's going to be about.
Oh, absolutely. So we are actually doing the Back to the Manger Christmas program this year. And basically it is really just, it's a time traveling musical a musical time traveling. I don't even know how to describe it.
Yeah.
But when we were trying to find the right thing for our kids to do this year, because it's kids up to bat for Christmas, and I went through and I started watching several, and I just feel like this one embodies the heart of Calvary. It's talking about how if we are not loving with action, if we're just saying, I love you, and we're not actually showing it, then it's for naught. We haven't done what we're supposed to do, what we're called to do. We're supposed to love and to show love. And not only to our friend that we see, every week, or our friend that we love. We're supposed to show love to the least of these. One of the songs actually talks about dividing the sheep and goats, and that if we didn't show love to the least of these, then we haven't shown love to God, to Christ, that how important it is for us to love not only, our friends, but every single person. So we're going to be traveling all the way through. Let's see, we go to the 50s, and we're going to go to the 40s and the 70s and the 80s. And I think we're actually going to have a couple little 90s boy band type kiddos, which will be super fun.
That sounds like a blast. So I cannot wait for this Christmas program. I know everybody out there start inviting your friends and family.
Yes,
because this is a
December
big deal.
14th.
December 14th.
December 14th.
Get it on
is
the
our
calendar.
date. Put that on your calendar. You're not going to want to miss it. It's going to be such a great experience.
I agree, and can't wait for that. And thank you so much, Sister Monica Whatley, for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the invite.
Oh, most definitely. And of course,
Really enjoyed
everyone,
it.
we thank you for joining us today. And until we catch you again next time, do us the biggest favor. Make sure you're loving somebody, because if you don't, you never know who might need a new beginning.